Welcome to Film Fu, where the cuts are as clean as the kicks. I'm Shifu Payne, and today, it's time.
Checking out the Chin Chin Man.
Looking at Jackie Chan's career, it's really easy to see the ebbs and flows that martial arts films have had. Starting with the operatic acrobatics of the Chinese theatre, the game-changing presence of Bruce Lee, meeting somewhere in the middle and adding some extra flavour, and even the Western style of close-ups and shaky cam.
So let's start our look at the Chan Man's long and painful career by looking at an early entry in his filmography, Young Tiger.
Also called Policewoman or Rumble in Hong Kong, it stars Charlie Chin and Ki Yuan and is directed by Mu Chu, who also wrote the film. This film is an interesting film, as Jackie does not star as the main character or even the hero. He's instead one of the primary antagonists of the film. Released in 1973, the same year Chan was an extra in Enter the Dragon, with it not being until 1978 that Jackie starts making the films he's known for with Drunken Master.
But we're not here to give a biography, we're here to look at the fights. So let's start with the plot.
A woman passes away in the back of a taxi driver's car, leaving behind the purse that a group led by Jackie Chan want to get a hold of. The driver, played by Charlie Chin, continually defends himself against the group and is eventually approached by the sister of the deceased woman that left the purse, who is played by Ki Yuan. The two of them work together to uncover why this organization wants the purse and uncover the conspiracy that the sister was about to expose. The big conspiracy that the sister was trying to reveal at the start was one of a drug cartel, and the use of mules in the form of attractive women who could get away with having drugs concealed on them.
Because we've got two protagonists in this film, we've got two sets of themes and character arcs to go through. So let's start with Yuan.
Yuan is actually an unsung hero of Hong Kong martial arts, but her career is sadly not as smooth as one would like. Attending and studying Chinese martial arts and opera with Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung, learning under Yu Jim Yuan. She starred in several films during the 60s and early 70s, appearing in 1974 in The Man with the Golden Gun, before taking a hiatus for 28 years as the career of women in cinema at the time was not as promising as she would have liked, especially for those of an Asian background. She eventually came back to film in 2004 with Kung Fu Hustle, and her career has fortunately been steady ever since.
What does this have to do with her character in this film?
I'll explain later.
As this is a Jackie Chan film, he was one of the two stunt coordinators for this film, along with Chuan Yan Yuan.
Although Jackie went uncredited as a stunt coordinator, his fingerprints are all over this film, with many scenes of using objects and surroundings for defense. My favorite is the one with the tires.
But as much as I love that scene for the creativity and sheer fun of it, I'm not going to look at it here because it doesn't have a lot of thematic relevance. Instead, we're going to jump to the end of the film where Chi Yuan's character fights off a couple of thugs, while Chin and Chan face off.
The fight begins with Chin stopping the van, full of drugs, and then proceeding to engage. The fight builds up with some parries, blocks, and hits, including a nice roundhouse from Jackie, until things get interesting with Chin, where he grabs the back of one guy's knee and throws him to his back with a nice grapple. There are a handful of Chinese martial arts that deal with grappling and throws. For this, I'm going to attribute it to Shui Jiao, also known as Chinese wrestling or Chinese judo. It functions very similarly to the two, using a great deal of grappling and throws, and is rumoured to have existed for around 6,000 years, being the father or grandfather of modern wrestling and judo. The validity of this aside, it is a martial art that I am going to attribute primarily to its being brought into modern wushu. The fight is broken up briefly by Yuan stepping in or jumping in with a jumping sidekick, followed by some quick kicks and blocks, as well as an excellent sweep. All of these are moves that I want to link to Northern Shaolin. The reliance on kicks and the use of the jump sidekick pair nicely with the style, built to be used on drier land that could allow for more ranged attacks and a strong offense. Cutting back to Chin, his moves are all over the place, which makes a great deal of sense, as he's not a professional fighter or in a job which is very violent, such as Yuan, so it makes sense that he takes more of a beating and has less finesse.
Speaking of which, let's take a look at Chin's character in this film.
Chin's character is one all about survival. He's trying to survive the continual bashing of his life by these drug dealers, but he's also just trying to survive the day-to-day hustle. We're told that his character went to college, and it's clear that he's barely making ends meet, something which begins to get to him. He's presented as just a decent guy, trying to do his best and be his best while life continually beats him down.
You're most kind, very kind.
Doesn't pay, though.
There's a monologue by Chin about the halfway point discussing violence in the city and how representations of it in the media could exacerbate such thoughts.
That setup makes it sound like the blatant messaging of this film. When I first saw this scene, I actually thought that the film was going to end with some clever solution or some pacifistic way to end the villain's schemes, but instead, it didn't.
I'll explain later.
Going back to the fight, we cut back to UN, and damn, that was a great scissor kick, except the guy did not then follow it up with another attack and let UN escape the hold. Jim begins to fare better, trapping this guy's wrist and roundhousing him multiple times. The fight then turns into a car chase and car fight with that Jam Man influence coming in.
Nice.
I'm not even analysing anymore, just commentating here.
Well, folks, we get a couple of beautiful kicks here from Chin. It looks as though things are turning out his way, and oh, that is a beautiful recovery from Chan, along with a swift kick thrown in for good measure. What a game!
The fight really becomes much more violent here as the blows come fast and hard from Chin, highlighting, I think, the hardened edge that he has gained from this experience, where before he was defensive and just trying to survive, now he's more aggressive and active in the fight. So it's now Chan that's on the defensive, using props and trying to survive. This brings us to the main message of Chin's story. It's not about violence affecting the youth or finding something to blame. Media is a reflection of the current landscape. It is continually affected and shaped by the current world. Immediately post 9/11 saw the overemphasis of American values and the clear messaging of unity and freedom in the face of terrorism.
You mess with New York! You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us!
And while that is fine in context, looking at it with more of a degree of separation or from a certain point of view can make it seem like pandering or an America because America message. What does this mean here? Well, to look back at Chin at the start, he is someone who's just trying to make a living, trying to do good where he can, and just because it is the right thing. He's an idealist, so when he sees the increased violence around him, he's quick to blame an exterior reason and not consider that it's just violent people being violent. By blaming media or effects on children, it doesn't consider internal factors or the mental and social issues that can cause more violence. Chin is hardened by the film's events, becoming more proactive, maturing to meet a world that is violent, if not physically then socially or economically, becoming a more confident and active person.
What about Yuan's character? Well, unfortunately, there's not as much to work with in this film, but I think there's enough.
Yuen's character receives slights by the antagonist of being a female police officer and is asked along the lines of if she would rather fill out parking tickets. Towards the start of the film, she is nearly mugged and nearly sexually assaulted until she fights back, and her last line of the film is a clapback to the idea of not being an adequate officer. 1973 was just around the time of when Yuen took time out of acting, so it's not impossible to imagine the appeal of this character as a pushback against the conventions and stereotypes of women at the time, as well as the difficulty of finding a stable career.
I couldn't find any statistics for the number of female police officers in 1973, but the number today in Hong Kong is around 5,000, which makes about 17% of the police force. And it's reasonable to assume that this was lower in the 1970s. Chan is Chin's enemy, but the head of the cartel is Yuen's, as a representation of the society that looks down upon her and thinks her lesser just because of her gender.
Women are used in this film by the antagonist as a tool, a prop, a way to get what they want and that's it. Just a pathetic accessory to them. Which is where Yuen comes in. Yuen shows empathy to a woman that is going through withdrawal and has been cast aside. Her sister is killed by these people and her drive here is to see them brought to justice. Yuen doesn't take any shit and proves herself as more than just a meter maid, a decisive, compassionate individual who not only avenges her sister, but also proves the idea of women as lesser wrong and makes the arrest on the head of the cartel.
You can imagine why this film was appealing for Yuen.
With all of that said and all of my talk, what do we have to take away from this film? First, on the martial arts side of things, if you're going to grapple and try to pin your opponent, make sure to follow with a targeted strike and not let your opponent escape the hold. Give a bear hug, not a teddy bear hug. Second of all, remember to be proactive, and when chasing your goal, don't wait for an opportunity and instead make an opportunity by taking the appropriate initiative. Last of all, whether in martial arts or in the office, a person's gender, body type or age does not impact their ability to be good at the same thing as others.
I've seen people with big guts to be proud of, X chromosomes for days, and older than Tutankhamun himself, and work just as hard as millennials with 6-pack abs and more Y chromosomes than I have chest hair. All that matters is the will and the drive to work hard and the determination to go out and get what you want. And if you disagree with anything that I've said, or are still in the dark about why none of these matter on a biological level,
We will explain later.
thank you for watching this week's video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss a new video. And until next time everyone, peace be with you. Welcome to Film Fu, where the country is clean as the kicks. I'm Shifu Payne, and you know what time it is.
Chin chin man.
Jackie Chan, a badass love child of Bruce Lee and a Tom and Jerry cartoon. Throughout his career, despite being on the comparative level of other legends, there's always been more of an everyman brush to his persona. I think this comes from his approach to storytelling and levels. Jackie always starts at the bottom and works his way back up. The expression of pain and discomfort also aids, not only by elevating the comedy, but because it's much more relatable. How many times have we seen someone in a film get flung through a window or across a room and get up without a scratch? But with Jackie, you feel every blow, making the end result more rewarding. But of course, that's all in Hong Kong, with Jackie Chan's own stunt team. But what happens when the Chan man is in the West? Well, I don't know, but let's find out. Released in 2008, directed by Rob Minkoff, written by John Fusco, and starring Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Michael Angarano, and Liu Yifei. The film could easily be described as a passion project, with that flair of it being a love letter to the Hong Kong martial art films of old. The main character is a fan of the genre, having Shaw Brothers and Bruce Lee posters on his wall. There's the story elements from classic Chinese literature, but what may hold the film back, in short, are those Hollywood isms that tend to show their face in these fairs. Before we get too far in, let's take a look at the plot of this film. A young, unconfident Boston kid named Jason Tripatakis, oh, you think you're cute, huh?
Bitch, I'm adorable.
Is pressured into helping to rob a pawn shop in Chinatown, and after escaping with a mysterious staff, is inadvertently transported to ancient China, and conscripted to bring the staff to its imprisoned owner, the great sage himself, the Monkey King. Along the way, he encounters others to help in his quest, such as a drug master played by Chan, a monk played by Lee, and an orphaned warrior played by Liu. They all work to get to the sacred temple, restore the Monkey King, and overthrow the tyrannical warlord. Wait, some of this is seeming kind of familiar. A kid is transported to another world, teams up with a goofy character plus an awesome warrior woman, has to overthrow a warlord, is transported by a mystical artifact, and eventually learns to become confident and kick-ass. Oh, for shit's sake, this is the same plot as Enter the Warrior's Gate. Wait a minute, that film came out in 2016! It didn't even have an original plot! Well, while we write down another reason to hate that train wreck, let's take a look at some of the major ideas from this film. This is a film about misfits, outcast, the abandoned, or left behind. We've got our Shia LaBeouf lookalike, whose whole arc is based in the gaining of confidence, and not just watching these legends, but becoming one. The drunken master himself, who had the chance to become immortal, but failed. Miss, let's not talk about the politics, who's on the path of vengeance to avenge her parents and village. And then there's the monk, who is another misfit in two ways. He's been trying and failing to bring the staff to the Monkey King for an undisclosed amount of time, and for another reason, he is the Monkey King. Okay, it gets a little bit confusing, so let's break it down. 500 years beforehand, when Wukong was imprisoned in stone, he had previously changed one of his hairs into a mirror version of himself as a distraction. As he was imprisoned, he changed the hair again, this time into a monk. The monk, who is actually a segment of Sun Wukong, is on the mission to restore his master by getting his staff back to him. When the monk dies at the end of the film, he returns to being a hare. Yeah, that's not immediately spelled out, so hopefully that clears that up. As such, the monk has some carryover traits of the Monkey King, a flair for mischief and pranks, but ultimately a good heart. But it ties into the idea of a band of misfits, as Wukong is the king of misfits. And now, the gushing about the Monkey King, brought to you by Shifu Payne. Oh boy, where do we begin?
This guy is the beast. The inspiration for every shonen protagonist, namely Goku. The Monkey King was imprisoned for 500 years under a mountain by the Buddha for wreaking havoc in the court of heaven. Freed and made the disciple of Tripitaka to go on the journey to the west, seek the scriptures from the Thunder Monastery, bring enlightenment to the east, and atone for his misdeeds. Like his fellow disciples Pig and Friar Sand, Monkey's story is about the misfit atoning for their past and making the journey to become a greater person by letting go of his narcissistic and selfish nature, putting the needs of Tripitaka over his own, making sacrifices for what needs to be done, going through innumerable amounts of pain, and enduring Pig for much of the trip. Look, I'll put it like this. Monkey is the Iron Man of Journey to the West, with the personality of Loki.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Dull creature.
But enough gushing about this Pima Wen. Let's take a closer look at this film and take a look at its fight scenes.
The scene we're looking at today is a no-brainer. As the monk, or monkey, steals the staff from Jason, the drunk goes to retrieve it, resulting in a fight between two legends.
Jackie Chan vs Jet Li? Oh, it's go time. Let's do this!
The fight begins with Chan throwing his flask, and then Lee goes ahead and breaks. As Chan goes for the staff, Lee holds onto it with his feet, and that's only 0.0000001% of his power. He then goes and throws Chan across the room, leading to a couple of quick tail kicks and quick cuts. Oh man. Look, I get it. Hollywood does this sort of thing in fight scenes to hide the fact that it's not actually the actor, and or that the actor can't really fight. But come on. This is Jackie Chan and Jet Li. Just stick a camera on them and let the masters do their work. But it does need some nice interplay as they go into hand-to-hand over the staff and then some footwork. See, this is what I mean. Don't go crazy with the cuts. The staff is kicked into a pillar and taken out of play. But don't worry, the fight's not over yet.
Don't worry, it gives him power.
A bit of wire work in play as both go for the staff. This sort of wire work did not enter the martial arts movies until about the 90s, when at the time there was more of a call to the return to wuxia, a genre of the ancient martial heroes with spiritual, almost magical martial prowess, leading to wire work being used to showcase that power, as seen in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Matrix, and Iron Monkey. After this, we get a showcase of the drunken master at work, with a flurry of strikes that's just mesmerizing to watch. And if you pay attention, there's that rhythm that we've spoken about before, that almost beat that keeps the flow going and maintains attention.
I'll play a segment of this again, and this time pay attention to the sound effects and to the blows.
Did you catch it? Let's go through it again. Nothing like watching the masters at work. A neck-breaking drop there leads into a kip-up, and we go again, leading to a real shift as Lee goes into using Mantis style. You can notice the trends of Mantis style, with there being a particular emphasis on trapping, as Lee brings Chan into a closer range and wraps his limbs to then go into an attack on the inside with those knees. Chan takes note and switches it up to Tiger style, a strength-emphasizing sweeping style. There's also that strategy of trapping, except instead of wrapping the opponent's limbs like in Mantis, there's more of a grabbing, almost crushing nature to this type of trapping, placing that emphasis again on strength and overpowering rather than wearing down. A back kick plus a grab brings both Chan and Lee back down to earth as they go into a kickoff. Dragon tail kicks followed by roundhouses leading into hammer strikes plus another roundhouse from Lee. Chan retaliates with a front kick, elbow, and a head grab with that tiger style once more, leading to another roundhouse from Lee. To the liver this time, I think. Both perform a flying kick, but Lee retaliates with a series of tail kicks, plus a side kick to a mid-air Chan. To the back, yikes. Both just start playing tug-of-war for the staff and break it out of the pillar, leading to more strikes, including several hammer strikes to the back of the head from Lee.
Yellow card.
Finally, Chan performs a roundhouse, leading to a wrap around the staff, going into crane style, as Shia's twin looks on. Both kick each other away, leading to the staff landing in this guy's hands, which apparently makes him the chosen one or something.
Look, I get it. These two are legends. It would have been just a disservice to have one overpower the other. But let's be honest, the way that ended was just so awkward.
The staff lands in his hands, music swells. Well, fuck me, he's the chosen one. Wouldn't it have been more impactful if this guy had stopped the fight, had some agency, physically take the staff back and prove he's got the growing confidence to take on this task, and bring people together? But no, the qualifications here are the same as an outfielder for the Dodgers apparently.
Okay, so this whole character's arc is all about gaining confidence as he journeys on his journey to restore the Monkey King. Right, got it. But here's the thing. Hollywood just loves certain tropes.
He's the protagonist, so obviously he gets the final blow on the bad guy, even though Monkey is right there and we've spent the whole movie trying to free him, hyping him up as the one to take on the bad guy, meaning that Monkey basically spends the climax having a cool one-liner and distracting the bad guy while the real heroes get their shit together.
Let me tell you something, Stronghold. You got your moment. You were able to take on those asshats from earlier at the ending of the film when you came back home. You got your moment. You freed Monkey. You did your job. Monkey's been waiting 500 years for this. Don't be stealing this moment from Monkey. That's Monkey's job to steal stuff.
Almost lost my cool there.
So, with all of that being said, what can we take away from this film?
First of all, on the martial end, practice. Sure, it's gratifying to watch these guys in action, and it's then easy to picture yourself doing these things and kicking ass with the best of them. But you need to remember that these guys are capable of this after years of hard work, training, blood, sweat, and tears.
You want to be on that level? Put in the work. Other than that, truth be told, this is a very simple film with not a lot to really say in terms of its messaging. It has that theme of misfits coming together, or even the certain note of a found family, but that's never really the focus of the film. This is a popcorn flick with good action, likeable characters, and just enough fan service to keep us on tender hooks. And that's okay. Not every piece of media has to be at a certain level or achieve certain things. Just so long as it has the right amount of effort and passion put into it, then it's worth looking into. Thank you for watching this week's video. Like I say, this film really was a passion project and was really fun to watch, so I actually quite enjoyed it. Plus, it gave me the boost of being able to talk about Journey to the West, plus a certain monkey, so kinda gets plus for that. But with that, thank you all for watching, and until next time, peace be with you. Welcome to Film Foo, where the culture squeeze the kicks. I'm Shifu Payne, and happy Christmas to you and to your loved ones. To you, to your family, and to the whole wide... I can't do it! Look, I'm sorry, but I just can't help but not get into the Christmas spirit this year. Especially after these last couple of years. I mean, this is a time of year that's all about peace and love and charity and goodwill to everyone and holding the ones you love dear. But with a looming sense of existential meaninglessness, with looming debt from university, with feelings of worthlessness and general pissed off energy, I just can't get into the spirit this year. Will today's film help in that? What do you fucking think? Oh, right, yeah, and it is Chan Man time, just do the thing.
Directed and written by Stanley Tong, someone that has worked with Chan multiple times, including for Rumble in the Bronx, First Strike, Super Cop, and The Myth. Speaking of The Myth, this 2017 film is technically a sequel to that 2005 production, which is weird as they do differ in execution so drastically.
What do I mean by this? Let's find out, starting with the plot.
Jackie plays Jack,
Plot twist?
an archaeological professor who's asked by an Indian princess played by Disha Patani, who disguises herself as a doctor for reasons, and asks him to recover the lost treasures of the Kingdom of Magda, which is made complicated by a greedy millionaire who is also looking for the treasure to become even more rich, because that is always a reliable motivation. Jack and his team enlist the help of a treasure hunter played by Arif Rahman, and seek the lost treasure before the millionaire gets their hands on it.
I mean, let's be honest here, the plot is fairly cookie cutter, but in fairness, who really goes to a martial arts film for the plot? Aside from me. But this film still has some major issues with it, and I'll get into my main one at the end, but for right now, let's start with the CG.
The film opens with a scene showing the backstory for the treasure, where it came from, who hid it, why it was hidden, etc.
The problem is that this was apparently made on a PS2.
I mean, look at this mess. Chan is in there too, of course. Between this and his ancestor in The Myth, Jackie's ancestors really got around. It just seems so flat and so empty. You kinda can't help but tune it out. Oh, and then there's this.
Oh my god!
It's so dead behind the eyes! This is making Food Fight look like Ratatouille!
And the effects don't get much better throughout.
I mean, I could go through this elaborate car chase with obviously fake cars ripped straight from GTA.
But I'll leave it up with this.
A computer-generated vomiting lion.
Ah, how far our computer technology has come.
Another problem I have is with this character. Patani plays the confusingly disguised princess. I mean, in terms of character, she's there, doing stuff and aiding in the plot, but not with any actual development or layering of character.
But my main issue is actually this. Did Groot give her acting lessons?
Okay, that's unfair. The version I saw was the English dub version from the original Mandarin, so it may very well be that this is someone dubbing in and translating the lines.
But if not, love, here's a number for an acting coach. You can join the class with Godot. Sure, I can nitpick until the cows come home, but the fight scene? Where's the fight scene? Well, let's actually take a look at this film's fight scenes and see what the Chan Man has for us today.
The scene we're looking at today takes place in the snowy dunes, as Chan and his team look for a cave containing the lost soldiers that were hiding the treasure, and Chan and Ramen have a quick sparring session.
Now, I know it seems weird that we're looking at this particular scene, seeing as how there are other fight scenes which are more in line with the Chan Man stylings, but A, this is set in the snow, and it's December, B, there are wolves in it, automatic win, and C, it's my show, shut up.
Oh, my mistake, these are the wolves from Twilight. Quick, hide your babies before one imprints on them! Chan and Ramen go to scare away the pack so that they don't get in the way of their work, but before then have a brief session of sparring to see what Ramen remembers of his training. It starts with some hand-to-hand. My initial instinct is to say it's Wing Chun, but the stance looks off from Jackie, and not as tight as a Wing Chun stance usually is. It could, however, be another style, Southern Shaolin or Hung Gar, ones with wider styles, more ideal for being on snow and ice like this. Either way, from what we can see, both nicely block and trap each other. Jackie in particular traps Ramen in this crosshold, which I'm not sure on, as there is that risk with both arms engaged only trapping one arm. The same again here as Ramen traps Chan's arm, both at the wrist and the shoulder. The wrist could be enough for a quick trap preceding another attack. The ideal move here for Ramen here would probably be something like a knee to the abdomen, or even a neck pin with his hand on that shoulder. I mean, he wouldn't have far to go.
Okay, I need to slow that down.
It looks like Ramen had Chan in a lock with his elbow, so Chan bent his held elbow, which somehow sent Ramen's arm reeling back before Chan grabbed Ramen's wrist and went to put him into a pin. I don't know how he did that, as that goes against some law of motion. If Chan had shin kicked him and then pinned him when distracted, that would have made sense. Whatever. Ramen interrupts the pin and goes in for another attack, but Chan spins him around, still holding his arm, which could lead to some lock, but no, a push works too. They then move to kicks, which starts with Chan going to literally step on Ramen's toes. Put a pin on that. Ramen goes to do a shin kick, which Chan evades. Both step into wider stances across from each other. Chan knocks Ramen using his shoulder, before using his own knee to collapse Ramen's knee.
Whatever.
Ramen recovers and goes into a strike before performing a sweep, a toe kick, and then more hand-to-hand. It's safe to say that this is Northern Shaolin. Well, what a surprise I brought that up. Ramen tries an elbow before a spearing attack, but Chan once again has him in another lock, but before kicking him in the sides of the knees and then striking at his torso. Ramen goes in to strike again. Dude, at this point, I would pick another strategy if he keeps beating you in the same way, which Chan does, putting him into several more pins and locks, including 2 at the throat. Ramen escapes the hold by collapsing Chan's elbow and twisting himself free, but in all this twisting, he forgot to create distance, as Chan collapses his knee and puts him into an even more vulnerable position. But this time, Ramen headbutts Chan in the abdomen to get free.
Who else thought he got him in the bow staff?
Well, so did Chan, as he straight up knees him in the crotch.
Boy, between this and Frank with the shiv last week, we're really racking up some violations of the bro code here.
Chan then attacks Ramen's throat, which Ramen retaliates with using a roundhouse which Chan catches before proceeding with a series of elbow strikes. Wait, did Chan just 1-inch punch Ramen?
Evidently, that extra roll in Enter the Dragon paid off in the end.
The session ends as they go ahead and return to camp, with them proceeding to properly scare off the wolves in the most humane and sympathetic way.
Oi, 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 oi! This is their turf. This was their turf first. Respect their rights. God, first Idaho, then Montana, and now here. I expected better from you, Jackie. Now, naturally, you may be thinking that I've copped out, seeing as how I've covered a sparring scene instead of an actual fight scene. So tell you what, how about if I cover a later portion with a later fight scene, just a little bit, as it does lead into the ending, and I do have something to say about it.
In this scene, it's revealed that the treasure all along was knowledge. Medical, scientific, spiritual, things which make a positive difference in the lives of others.
Oh, what a solid, good moral lesson about true treasures of the world. And boy, what a rare and indescribable find. I mean, imagine what's in here. Could be the cure to cancer maybe, spiritual enlightenment, so many Oh, my scholar brain.
Ancient artifacts, hundreds of years old, containing sacred knowledge, and you use them in such a potentially damaging way. That's like using a first edition Edda as a coaster.
Oh, and what about the ending?
Well, these monks all come in, wanting to bask in this holy site, the message being that such knowledge belongs to the people. And what is their epilogue? What happens to the antagonist? What about the university? Oh, don't worry, Bollywood musical number time!
Yeah, you're not mistaken.
There's not an actual ending here. The rich guy is just like, yeah, fuck this, let's dance.
Now, look, I know that typically Hong Kong productions don't really have epilogues, they just tend to end, but I mean, with so many loose ends?
The side characters? Never seen again in the actual story? This guy gives up.
As the last note to leave on too? What a load of bollocks! But that's not even the main problem with this film, as there is another, more staggering, potentially film-ruining problem here. In my opinion, Jackie Chan should not have been the main character in this film.
Chan exists in this film as a fixed character. Nothing changes for him. No growth or development. Nothing is impacted personally for him. Stuff just happens to Jackie, with no real goal other than just finds the MacGuffin. Which is odd because there was another character here that would have probably made for a better protagonist, and that's Raman's character. He starts off as a self-serving treasure hunter, wanting money and adventure more than betterment or discovery. But throughout the course of the film, he learns to consider his team more, opening up and valuing them more. Wouldn't this end reveal have been more thematically relevant if this changed his outlook, so that both he and the antagonist were learning this lesson, acting as foils for one another, him growing and accepting this lesson, while the other refuses and blindly pursues his greed, which becomes his downfall?
In an actual ending, of course.
If you really wanted Jackie in this film, I feel as though reducing his role to more of a mentorship and having Raman take the lead would have been a stronger idea. You could even have the theme of passing the torch if you retain it being a spiritual sequel to an earlier film.
Sure, maybe I'm valuing my own headcanon over the actual pieces of this film, but I mean, with a film like this, how can I not?
What did I like? Well, the action is good. This is a Jackie Chan film with the director of Rumble in the Bronx. You know the action is going to be good. There's the decent lesson between Jackie and Raman about adapting to terrain and being flexible with strategy in different contexts. But despite the overall moral lesson of the film being a good one, about the value of knowledge and bettering lives instead of greedily wanting everything for yourself, it's held down by the poor execution.
Which I can sum up thusly. A vomiting lion, no actual ending, and no need to have your protagonist. I mean, it's a real shame that this is such a downer of a start to December. I mean, maybe we can only go up from here. I certainly hope so. Thank you all for watching this week's video, and in the comments let me know if you've seen this film and what your opinion was on it. My personal opinion? This has kind of caused me to reevaluate my love for Jackie Chan. It's a shame to have to say that, really. Like, I feel as though it's just... I'm gonna be looking at his films differently now, and not in a good way. It's a shame, because this was the same team as with Rumble in the Bronx. You would think this would be a great film. It was just so lazy, and just so... I don't know. But with that, thank you all for watching, everyone, and until next time, peace be with you. Look how they've massacred our boys. Going into this film, I was not sure of quite what to make of it.
A martial arts film starring Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger involving dragons, witches, princesses, and the Russian Tsar for some reason.
On the one hand, Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger being together in one martial arts film would have been any action film fan's wet dream. But then considering some of Jackie's latest films, and how most films these days seem to be going on a one-way train to craptown, not only that, but so many production companies seem to have a finger in this particular pie. Yeah, we may have a real mess on our hands here.
Directed and written by Oleg Stepchenko, and released in 2020, this film is actually a sequel to a 2014 film known as Forbidden Kingdom. No, not that one. A direct-to-DVD film from Russia that made back enough money for China to take notice for the sequel and for international stars to get involved.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is right. Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger are in the same film together at last. It's kind of a shame that it didn't happen 20 years ago, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. But just how do they play into this film as the awesome protagonists they surely are? So how much of this film are they actually in, anyway?
only the first third and last 5 minutes, acting basically as extended cameos, while we have to instead follow this band of generic paper towels dressed as characters.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Alright. Well, okay, let's see what the plot is like, to see what we're dealing with here.
Long ago, in a distant land, a dragon settled in a mountain cave and grew magically healing tea from its eyelashes. Magical tea indeed. Is there a cup available? But a band of evil sorcerers led by a powerful witch captured the dragon, selling the tea to become stinking rich.
I mean, I'm not really sure why they went to such trouble. I mean, surely you could just use a duplication spell on 1 gold coin and then soon you'd have 1,000,000 gold coins. I mean, kind of an amateur move if you ask me.
By the 1800s, a cartographer played by Jason Fleming is on a journey to map all of Europe, but is captured in Moscow when he realizes the Russian Tsar Peter I is a fake.
Man, this must be fictional if they're saying the real Peter I was not an idiot.
Eventually, he is released to map the Silk Road, and gifted an assistant who is secretly a princess played by Jingtong Yao. Meanwhile, in the Tower of London, the real Tsar, played by Yuri Koloknikov, is cellmates with the princess's father, played by Chan, who helps the Tsar escape to deliver the seal required to free the dragon to the princess. Teamed with the cartographer's wife, played by Anna Cherina, plus a ragtag team of sailors, they all work together to end the rule of the sorcerers, free the dragon, and bring back peace to the land.
All in all, a pretty generic plot to bring a MacGuffin to a specific place, free the what's-it, and wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey. The only real thing that makes it worth watching, really, is the presence of Arnold and Jackie, which was, after all, plastered all over the marketing and on the posters and everything. So, let's take a look at their fight scene and see what it is that we're dealing with. As, let's be honest, doing anything else would be sacrilegious.
Today we join our stars in a prison. A very special prison.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to HM Slammer, where you decide which prisoner will be released. Now, please welcome your host. Please welcome the Governor!
Chan makes ready to engage with the governor after getting the seal to the Tsar and helping him get out of the prison. So in this fight, Chan is just trying to buy time for the Tsar to get away.
He will make a fine specimen in my collection.
So, wait a minute. General Grievous was Arnold Schwarzenegger all along?
Jackie starts by using some CGI chains to distract Arnie while moving in for a strike, but Arnie dodges and returns with a body blow. But Chan is not done yet as he blocks and deflects several punches and is tossed overboard by Arnold. But this is the Chan man we're talking about here. Trip to Staples is like the arming up scene from The Matrix for him.
Now I want to see Jackie Chan fighting the Staples.
As he catches himself on the chandelier, only for Arnold to pull him back and tie the chain around himself so that Chan cannot get away. Arnold throws a punch only for it to be caught by Chan as he moves to a kick to the abdomen, but not even an explosion can stop the Terminator, and so he retaliates with another punch. But Chan evades any follow-ups and brings it home with a jumping back kick. The fight moves to sword work as Chan uses reverse grip.
You know Jackie Chan is a legend when he can make reverse grip actually work.
Oh, but before we get too excited, let's cut back to the boring people we don't actually care about, as... Well, apparently both felt it necessary for their opponent to get some grooming in, as Chan gets a beard trim and Arnold loses his wig, and Chan gives a minute to tell Arnold about how he was conned with his collection.
This is the helmet of Genghis Khan.
Helmet?
Yes.
This is an incense pop.
See, this is actually how most male friendships are formed. First it starts with fighting, then it turns to grooming tips, then it turns to ways to save money. Next thing you know, they're going to be playing darts, having drinking games, and bish bash bosh, they'll be best men at each other's weddings.
Oh, but first, more fighting. Jackie proceeds to try and run up a set of stairs, which also serve as a ladder.
Strange architectural choice.
But Arnold pulls Jackie's chain. Fortunately, Chan is able to kick Arnold away as the fight ends in a stalemate. Chan is recaptured and placed in his cell with tighter security, as Arnold promises they'll be sparring again sometime.
Quite a wholesome end to a fight if you ask me.
But get used to not seeing them for a while, as we go ahead and follow these idiots for the rest of the film. The film ends with the dragon being released, only to fly around and basically do nothing. So, what was the point of freeing him? Not really a turn of the tide, considering how we don't have any sort of an emotional connection to the dragon being captured aside from, well, that sucks.
Here, this'll make it more emotional.
Now, that's better.
Whatever. The evil witch is killed, the princess takes over the castle. We get to see the real heroes for a minute at the end.
Yeah, it's kinda scummy how these two were only in the first third of the film and yet were plastered all over the marketing, put front and center in the poster, put pretty much everywhere wherever you looked for this film. Only really used as a proxy to legitimize this film at a meeting between two governmental bodies which are overall scummy in general. Shame. I mean, come on!
A golden opportunity to see Jackie Chan not only fight with a chain, but with a rotating ladder, a walkway, several props, and throwing Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger?
I mean, they go so light here. I mean, give me one reason why Jackie Chan in 2020 should be given only one scene that's so light on content. You win this round.
Okay, well, I guess it is sort of a miracle we even got Jackie and Arnold in the same film at all, let alone have them fight. Maybe it's not up to the standards of 20 years ago, but respectfully, neither are they. We may not even get to enjoy the presence of these two for much longer, so maybe we should just appreciate what we have while we still can.
Thank you for watching this week's video. In the comments, let me know if you've seen Iron Mask and what your take is on it. Like I said, this film is pretty much just generic, really. There's nothing really of substance here to watch, to be honest. It's not even really a fun film to watch for the fight scenes. I mean, sure, it's got Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, as we've established, but that's pretty much light on them as well. So there's really nothing here if you even want to go for them. So really, it's not worth watching. But until next time, thank you all for watching, and peace be with you.